a Celeste pick that they're going for, because obviously Blackfeather, we saw how strong Blackfeather was against Celeste. So if you're banning Blackfeather, that implies you want to pick Celeste. I do definitely think that's a consideration of the ban. But they're also thinking of, do we want to get rid of Lyra? Maybe we want to get rid of Scarf instead. And it's really a tough position to be in, but I think that Celeste makes the most sense as a ban here.
Yep, definitely. So Celeste would be the go-to ban for the side of Impunity. However, they are taking their time, and we do see the Celeste being banned out, in which this will open the other big mage of the team, if not then Lance. So we see Lance being picked up by the side of Infamous. Like said, Lance has been prioritized so far.
Yeah, definitely. Lance a really good captain, and I don't know why they didn't go for the Scarf. If they ban Blackfeather, that does generally mean they want to pick Celeste. So that's probably why, given that Celeste was banned, they went, okay, we'll just pick the Lance and maybe we'll let Scarf through and try and counter it. So that does make a bit of sense. I think Grace would just be a good pick, maybe a Glaive. But they're going to go for first pick Kestrel. So that really is priority on Kestrel, just getting that almost certainly going to be a weapon Kestrel. But what do you think in terms of to counter this? Obviously, Petal does quite well, but we saw Petal lose to a Kestrel earlier on. Do you think they might do that? Do you think they're more likely to go as a Glaive to try and counter that Kestrel?
Yeah, I mean, Glaive would be quite good to counter this Kestrel. However, if we think about it, the side of Impunity, they have been settling for double squishies in terms of that Kestrel, whether placed in lane or in jungle, and of course with a very good frontliner. Maybe Lyra, although not a good frontliner, but it provides very acute heals for the teammates. And if not, then Grace as well. We've seen a couple of Grace here and there being picked up by a lot of teams, and Grace, like we saw in the previous match, can change the tides of battle if you have the echo. So that is one thing that the teams probably have in mind, since Lance is being picked up by the side of Infamous. I'm not surprised if the side of Impunity will just pick up that Grace to go alongside that of Kestrel.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it would be a good idea to get Grace. It's just such a strong captain, and if it's not banned away by Infamous, which certainly is a possibility, because they have another ban before Impunity are allowed to pick. So I think it's the smartest pick for Infamous is just to get rid of Grace in their second ban, because there's nothing else they really particularly need to ban. You're not giving away Celeste Kestrel because Celeste is banned. You're giving away Kestrel's Scarf, I suppose, but if they do that, you've got Taka, you've got Koshka, who can just dive in and assassinate if they go for the double squishy comp. So I wouldn't be worried about the Scarf. I think Infamous should ban Grace and then force them onto someone like Catherine or Arden.
Yep, I mean, Grace would be a very good ban. If not, then Lyra. We've seen Quartervore play on Lyra. In fact, just today, when DeathQ was at the brink of death, the very crucial Imperial Sigil actually dropped on him and just kept him alive long enough. So a lot of healers would be prioritized only because of the healing flask, the removal of potions. However, Impunity will actually just remove both mages for themselves. So at this point in time, Infamous, like you say, they can just ban out that Grace. If not, then if they are afraid of that of Glaive coming through, and they don't want that of Impunity to pick up Glaive, which would not be a possibility at this point in time, can ban out that Glaive as well.
Yeah, that is true. That would be meaning Impunity are running double weapon. They go roam Glaive. We've seen tons of weapon Glaive, and it wouldn't be a terrible idea to go double weapon, but Glaive really excels when he's able to deal burst damage onto someone because of the crystal carry they have to build defense against. So the Catherine ban is very similar to our Grace ban. Maybe that's just a hero you don't want to play against. It makes sense because they can't pick Catherine because they've got their Lance, and so they might as well just get rid of it. Catherine does work well with a Kestrel. So now I think the smart pick for Impunity is just get one of your captains, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be Grace. It could be Arden or Lyra. As you were saying, Lyra works well with a Kestrel, but leave yourselves open to counterpick with that last jungler.
Definitely. I mean, the draft itself, it's, you kind of win 50 to 70% of the game based on draft. However, we will be seeing an Idris coming out for the side of Impunity. If DevQ will be on this Idris, and we'll settle for the CP Idris, and of course we have Blue City on that weapon caster, in which we saw actually placed in jungle. Then it might work out for Impunity as well. We know Impunity, they are very flexible. However, we cannot discount the entirety of Infamous. Infamous, they are a very strong team, and in fact with both majors just removed from the fold, they can just go on for Samuel. Samuel has seen to put up a very good fight in that of early game, and as long as he can pressure that of early game, Samuel would definitely be a very good pickup.
Yeah, so do you expect this to be a weapon jungle with a lane Crystal Idris? Because I think that makes the most sense, but maybe they're going to go with the CP Kestrel, or maybe they're just going to flex it. Up against this Glaive, I think weapon Kestrel will be reasonably good, so do you reckon that'll go into the jungle?
Yep, definitely. So what I think is Idris will definitely be in lane. So this Kestrel will definitely be in that of jungle. But one thing's for sure, it's that for a CP Idris, honestly, I think it just does so much better going into a Glaive. However, we will be seeing Spaghetti probably on that CP Adagio in which we saw earlier on as well. It hurts and it hits like a truck in that early game, but when it comes late game, when a lot of the players have got the Atlas Pauldron, if not, then, it's just so difficult to actually utilize CP Adagio fully in that of the early game, in that of the late game at least. I'm not surprised at this point in time if Impunity will just settle for Lyra. Lyra shuts Grace down very well, and also that of Lance, but they are going to settle for that Grace, for the impact heal, for that burst heal that Grace can provide the moment she hits level 6.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more of the captain saved in the draft, because if one team gets their captain first, they're not going to pick up anyone else. So you want to prioritize going for your carries. You want to get the priority pick on Kestrel, priority pick on Idris, and then last up you want to go, well, we'll see what captain's left. Why not go Grace? She's a pretty good captain, and she hasn't been played yet. So it's quite a smart draft from both teams. I personally think that the weapon Kestrel and CP Idris, if they go that path, will be absolutely fine if the game goes to 18 minutes. I think if the game finishes before that, then it's going to have been an early game snowball. Adagio will do well at that, so will Glaive. But once it gets to late game, an Atlas Pauldron shuts down both carries. Glaive and Adagio both focus on attack speed. Whereas, actually, Atlas Pauldron kind of shuts down Kestrel and Idris, because they're all basic attack-oriented heroes. So I think that's really going to be interesting, the counterplay between blocking the Atlas and blocking the CC, especially against the Glaive.
Definitely, definitely. So that is one thing to consider for both teams as well. And the early game, like you say, will definitely be onto the side of Infamous, and past, say, 15 or even, 17 minutes, around there, 15 to 18 minutes, we'll definitely go over to the side of Impunity. However, we know that Impunity has been really, really aggressive and wants to be the aggressors in the early game, and this comp don't really stop them whatsoever. Right, they can really just go aggressive in the early game if they are running the CP Idris. Maybe after the Idris gets the Frostburn. If not, then the Sora Blade will do fine. But if they are running the weapon Castro, then it's gonna put out a lot of hurt in that early game. Right, so we do see DevQ going on to that Idris, which means Idris will be placed in lane, and Blue City, whether or not CP or weapon powered, will be placed in that jungle. So that is one thing to consider coming into this game. It is just down to whether or not Infamous can really push every little advantage they get, and whether or not they can fully utilize the early game of their comp.
Yeah, I do think that, it's going to be a CP Kestrel. Luxie's picked up 2 crystal bits. So this is really interesting. We're going to steal Weapon Idris, because Weapon Idris, 100% win ratio. CP Idris, 0% over the weekend in SCA at least. So that does make sense for Impunity. Maybe just for a psychological standpoint, they've seen Weapon Idris win. They keep seeing CP lose. Infamous going for a 3-man invade, but Croix d'Ivoire is going to be able to steal away backs. I don't know if that Scout Trap's going to catch him when he goes for it. But very aggressive from Infamous. I think he's going to obviously walk over that Scout Trap. So Infamous know where Croix d'Ivoire is He's going to get the back camps. Yeah, he's got a weapon blade, so there's no question that Quadrivar will be able to secure these backs away. And DefQ and Bluxty managed to get their own back. I don't know if they got the healing tree, and I think they did actually. No, they wouldn't have got it. Only got 4 CS on Bluxty. And so that's pretty successful for Impunity. He could be double, but he is graced with boots. So he's going to boost, but there's an afterburn. Impale does not land. Healing flask had to be used, and now Quadrivar is stuck between a glaive and an Adagio. There is no shop. He cannot shop and buy boots and run away, but he's so low. What Basic Attack does secure the kill from Adagio. First blood picked up, but somehow the gold lead is massively, by about 400 gold, in Impunity's favour, despite the first blood going over to Spaghetti.
Yep, firstly, it's because DefQ and Bluesy, they actually roamed into lane and that of the jungle together. That way they received ambient, and on top of that as well, Quadrivar went into the backs to actually remove the backs, or rather take away the backs from Infamous. So very good play coming out from from the entirety of Impunity. And like I said earlier on, Impunity really favors and like the strategic movement throughout the map, whereas for Infamous, they just have got very, very good macros.
They do, and Shingy's going to be able to... So Tezaboy secures that tree. Good pushback, so Quadrivar does not stun up Tezaboy with the knock-up. And now Shingy is going to have to back away. Now Impunity could go aggressive into the jungle. Bluxty's considering it, but it's just going to back off. The wave is far pushed into DefQ's turret. Now he wants to go back up to lane to secure that. I'm sure Quadrivar will get some nice ambient gold. And it's now that the gold is much more even with that... With that trade, I think Adagio and Glaive have managed to farm themselves up reasonably well, but there'll be some backs shared by the laner and the jungler. Oh no, DefQ actually sees how big this wave is and decides I should probably push this in and force Adagio to come to lane instead of being able to share backs himself.
Yep, definitely. So that is one thing to consider all in all. We know that Infamous, they are really infamous for team fights. As long as they can be the aggressors, they would usually come out on top because of how well they are in terms of micro plays. Whereas for the side of Impunity, they really just win with brains and how they just roam around the map. And we did see, and you did mention earlier on how, you know, Impunity actually had got a 400 gold lead, although the side of Infamous scored first blood. So that is one thing to consider. You know, watching both of these teams are very good in their own rights, but they are good in very different manner.
Yeah, definitely. It now looks like Impunity want to seize this turret. Crystal Kestrel really good at doing so, but just to get some poke. DefQ with 1.6k wants to port home, so it's going to go and shop, and now they're scared. 8k gold apiece for both the teams, dead even in terms of that, but not quite in terms of kills. And I would be very surprised if, as I said earlier, Atlas is not the second item of Tezaboy and Quadrivar, because it seems to be vital against, well, not against Crystal Kestrel anymore, but against the Idris it's very important, and against obviously Shingy and Spaghetti it's vital.
Yep, definitely. We do see though Spaghetti just staying in lane, and we did see earlier on of how, you know, Chingy just hyper farms Spaghetti up as
Tezaboy going in with the Impale, and Afterburn does land. DefQ's pop the healing flask. Now Shingy's rotating down Impunity jungle and will be able to get away. Tezaboy almost stood inside an active camo to his position, but Spaghetti is taking these glimmer shots, have to use the healing flask, he'll be okay, but Quadrivar may not. That's a nice double knock up. Tezaboy is going to fall. Afterburn going to catch up Luxy. He is so low on energy, going to miss one glimmer shot and fall to Adagio damage. And now DefQ's left trying to defend the target by himself. Nice double shot on the Chakram onto Shingy, and Quadrivar wants to go in. Shingy's very low. One more basic attack. He's going to use his boots and get away, but DefQ is going to be chased down by Spaghetti. Boots for himself as well, and that is a good trade for Infamous.
Yep, we have been seeing Infamous coming out really often. Now, not often, but in this week at least with the CP Adagio. I personally am not sure how CP Adagio has been changed so that it's now viable in the meta, where there is actually like CP Idris, which I personally think is just so much stronger as compared to CP Adagio because of how well it scales into the late game. But Minimizer, talk to me about it. Like, why CP Adagio?
Well, CP Adagio has very significant damage, as you see. A melee assassin like Glaive, it's really easy to apply Arcane Fire on probably Kestrel or Idris, really, to be fair. And Adagio has nice big power spikes, not at levels but at items. When he gets Alternating Current, that's a power spike, and then Broken Myth, that's another one. And yeah, his early game is extremely strong, which means you can snowball. And late game, he's still a damage source, which is why people like him. Blixie gonna get rooted, gonna get Afterman into the wall, and Fountain will not be enough to save his life. DefQ trying to get Tezzaboy, that's not the target you want. Turret does not quite. How is Tezzaboy alive? Just barely able to survive. Gets the heal of the Arcane Fire from Adagio, and that will be a tier 1 turret going down to Infamous. And I do not know how Tezzaboy survived that.
Well, Tezzaboy, as we all know throughout the Southeast Asia region, is to be a very reckless roamer. Reckless in his own good, at least. Half the time, he saves on 25 gold of... Okay, so...
Oh, the steal with the chakram!
Oh!
DefQ secures it with a weapon. And blocks, but you cannot block a chakram.
I honestly thought there was no steal at all. I was like looking and I'm like, oh, no steal, because you know, 1 shot, 1 kill went off. Then I'm like, oh, and then you started screaming, and I was like, aha, there you go, a steal. But you know, okay.
Trying to steal some backs away, and he is going to. But there's some nice turret pushed by DefQ and Bluxty, so not too bad. They're actually going to all put home, so there could be counter push by Spaghetti, and they might even get this tier. Oh, tier 1 turret's gone. They're not going to get the tier 2 turret, so that's not too bad from DefQ to actually have ported home there.
Yeah, like continuing on my point, Tezzaboy is a very well-known roamer throughout Southeast Asia, and is known for his very reckless plays, sometimes very not calculated, but all in all, it usually just synergizes well with his team because of how aggressive the side of Popeyes, ex-Popeyes likes to play, especially that of Chingy. We all know for his very aggressive play style, and Tezzaboy just fits in this puzzle piece. And as for Infamous, very similar as well. They like to be very aggressive, and they are very objective focused after the aggression pays off at ease, and thus Tezzaboy just fits like a chess, not even chess piece, but maybe in a 3,000 puzzle piece thingy, and Tezzaboy is just that missing piece, and he's just playing so well. So, you know, to your question as to how Tezzaboy survives, I've got no idea whatsoever, because half the time Tezzaboy gets caught out in very weird situations, and he can still survive. But Crystal Sentry will be taken by Infamous.
The gold lead was, before that Crystal Century, it was dead even, the gold between the two teams, 18k to 8. Now like a 200, 300 gold lead for Infamous. But I think late game, this has to favour the CP Kestrel. Luxity is not going to get full built this game. It so rarely happens on CP Kestrel that you get fully built. The later on in the game you go, the better off you are. So the longer the Impunity can stay even, the more likely that Kestrel's going to be able to farm up and destroy. But obviously it's definitely not lost for Infamous. Only 9 minutes in, and Pale does land on Steffi, but he manages to jump away, and Cour d'Ivoire is just going to be taking a bit of fire, but not too much. And there isn't a tier 1 turret for Impunity, so they're going to have to back off. Port home, I think there'll be some infusions picked up by DefQ most likely. No, he's going to go with a bit of defense actually, which makes sense. And now the gold mine will be started by Infamous, but I think that was a time for Impunity to fight. They weren't behind, now they're giving away a bit more gold advantage to Infamous, unless the steal again. Adagio Verse picks it up. No steal. Adagio does Verse judgment to make sure that is secure.
I mean, we did see a match, we did witness, and if I'm not wrong, and if I remember correctly, we were casting the match together, and I think one of the games and one of the teams actually, they basically stole their way to victory.
Yeah, please don't remind me.
Yeah, I forgot which team that was, but they basically stole their way to victory. They were losing in team fights, they were losing in every sense, but all in all, they just stole the Kraken. They stole, I think, 3 Krakens.
All I remember was that it was against best, and there were at least 2 gold mines against a Celeste. What are you doing, Cruel? Just Spectral Smite, secure objectives.
Right, yeah, that was a cool...
Anyway, that was not stolen away.
Yeah, that match was definitely a memorable one because of the amount of steals that came out and how it actually won.
There's the offband onto DefQ. He's going to use his ultimate. 400 heal keeps him up, and now Infamous a bit stuck what to do. Impale does miss, that's 3 damage. for DefQ. Bluxley not quite ready to land those glimmer shots. And they're just going to back off. So Infamous trying to siege turret, but not doing too much. Actually, they are now about 2k gold ahead. So that's pretty impressive given that they were even and they haven't really team fighted. They've just managed to push the wave, take a gold mine and just sneak their way ahead.
Yep, definitely. So that is one thing that we must note as well. That both of these teams definitely respect the strength and the abilities of each other. They are not going to make very reckless plays altogether. They are just going to be very calculated in terms of their offense and, of course, defenses as well. We see a lot of porting back and just... But there is one thing that I'm not sitting very comfortably on. It's that Infamous is definitely just allowing the entirety of Impunity to just farm up. And we all know what that would cause, especially since they have got an Idris and, of course, that of a Castrol as well. And like you say, they just scale so much better coming into the late game as compared to them. And, of course, the Crystal Adagio as well. But Adagio at this point in time, picking up that Metal Jacket, definitely good. Oh.
That's an awful lot of defense, but Bluesy's going to get caught out by She. But Idris on the other side, he's going to boot in towards Spaghetti. So much damage going down. And the founder, oh, that's the ultimate, and it does land onto DefQ. He jumps out a split second too early. Shingy secures the kill. The gold mine is very low, but Bluesy is alive. Borderbar's going to try to steal it. Does not get it. Glaive does secure the gold mine. And now Spaghetti is going aggressive. This Bluesy's thinking, what do I do here? I can stay invisible forever, but can I get a kill? And he's now going to back off because his captain is dead. And that was a nice bit more gold going towards Infamous. What do you think about the double damage, double defense on Spaghetti? He's gone 2 tier 3 items and then Aegis and Metal Jacket.
Yep, and that is what Spaghetti built that game. He played Adagio as well. He went for 3 damage items and then 2 defenses first. And 2 defenses and then completing his damage item. And the last item would actually be that of Shatter Glass, if I remember correctly. And that is how Spaghetti really just can stay in the midst of fight. Because honestly, building anything else and just going for maybe a 4th damage item would definitely make Spaghetti a little too paper, too squishy for his own good, and especially since Adagio wants to be in the midst of the fight because of the Gift of Fire, the Arcane, and the Burst of Judgment as well. So you really need the extra defenses, extra tankiness all together. On top of that, the Reflex, or rather the Aegis, grant you a bit of health, and also for that you actually heals a little more. So in case Tazzaboy put himself in a very haphazard position, at least there is a slight heal, and with that also burning the enemies. That way Spaghetti can just buff himself up with his B and then put out a lot of damage with his basic attack.
Yeah, certainly. It looks like Infamous are just going to look to try and steal away as many camps as possible, possibly looking for a team fight. DefQ has got a full Aegis, and Bluxley's only on 2 damage items completed on CP Kestrel, so not really dealing out the massive damage that you sometimes see. Also with the CP ratio going down from 160% to 140%, that's an awful lot of crystal power, awful lot less damage that we're going to do now on CP Kestrel, and so it is able to be tanked as long as they have respectable defense. So there's going to be the power on Tezboy and a double stun block on the Atlas, but it will not be enough. Bluxley is going to fall to Adagio, and now Idris trying to get the kill onto Tezboy. Again, that's not the target you want. How is Tezboy alive again? He's still alive, but DefQ has had enough. He doesn't care if he dies, but he wants to kill Tezboy, and he does succeed. This will be a tier 2 turret for Infamous.
For that, I can actually answer you as to why Tazzaboy was alive. It was because of the heroic perk of Lance. Tazzaboy did not have the directional shield provided for DefQ after DefQ jumped out of him after she was striking. So Tazzaboy had to poke him once with his lance. Right? I think that is what it's called, or maybe it's
I think it is a lance.
Yeah, so Lance had to poke him with a lance, and thus granting him the directional damage reduction, and thus he could survive a few damages coming out from that of DefQ. So very well played on Tazzaboy.
I think we need to be picky there. Actually, his heroic perk is that his basic attacks pierce through multiple targets. It's his Githian wall that gives him damage reduction.
All right, there you go. Yep. So the Githian wall passive, I think. Yeah,
there
that's
you go.
passive.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. And quite a smart play from Tezzaboy just to survive long enough for Chingy to just go in to pick him up. So well played overall, but at a point in time, I didn't think that, Tezzaboy should be taking that amount of damage unnecessarily, because Tezzaboy tanked 2 shots of the turret, and on top of that as well, took up a lot of damage coming up from that of Impunity. So that is something maybe Tezzaboy may want to look to change altogether, but all in all, very good play, and being so objective focused, they are able to actually take down the second turret of Infamous, giving them a solid gold lead of 5,000.
Yeah, 5k gold lead so far. Bluxty has now got 3 damage items. Finish Myth, which get you 1 shot in to initiate the fight, gets a few broken myth stacks, and then once they try and dive on you, you get that massive active camo trap stun, and that could really turn the fight around. I think the Impunity is just trying to not fight for like as long as possible, just to let Kestrel farm up. There's infusions now on Bluxty ready to be popped. FQ already used his, and there needs to be vision on Kraken. Quadvar is being quite out of position if Infamous decide to go on him, but he just needs to make sure that Infamous aren't taking Kraken, and there's going to be an impel over the wall, but dodged by DefQ with the Shroud Step, and Impunity just getting the heal and just not quite sure what to do. There's lots of backing home and lots of trying to not fight.
Yeah, but definitely trying their bestest to just stay safe, turtle up, and just build up as much damage as heroically possible. But DefQ,
there's the afterman onto DefQ. He is going to go very low. There's the ultimate from Grace, Divine Intervention, healing interest. Much. That is such a taking the to the face, but it just will fall in the end. Not enough healing on this Grace, and that is a double stun set up by Bluxty. Will he be able to pop it? It doesn't seem likely. We get taking a lot of poke. Tezzaboy will be the target and most likely will fall. There's boots used by Bluxty. Echo on the roll from Tezzaboy. 1, 2 go shots. That's secure. Adagio. Can he do it? Tezzaboy dodging. No, he cannot dodge. And Impunity turn it around.
Yep, that was the ace that Impunity was looking to find, and I'm sure Blue City will be very, very happy with his performance on the CP Castro, especially since it is his birthday. So, happy birthday to you. So, low-key dropping birthday.
Happy birthday.
There you go. So, all the casting team is just wishing him a happy birthday, but definitely very well played from Quattrevor. That is something that we must note. Quattrevor immediately used Divine Intervention onto DefQ, burned another one for DefQ. DefQ, with that, able to pick up, 1 kill. Then it was just down to Blue City to just pick up Spaghetti and Tezzaboy afterwards. So it's a very well thought out team game plan there. But all in all, I personally think it was just down because of Infamous and how Chingy was just too tunnel vision into taking out DefQ and ignoring all other damage coming through.
Yeah, that certainly was a problem, and I want to point out Quattrevor has picked up a spell sword, which is awesome. I just love seeing that spell sword actually be used on someone. I don't care if it's a bone, but we're going to see Impunity try to push this Kraken, try and get 2 turrets, most likely DefQ going in, going to dodge the impale. It actually lands onto Quattrevor instead, and Shingy has to run away. 1 shot onto Tezzaboy, and what's going to happen now? Blue City wants to push this turret. They're actually going to do the poke onto Shingy instead, force him to back off, and it looks like Impunity, easy, 2 turrets, back off, and that is a successful Kraken push. Luxuria, please talk to me about that spell sword, Grace.
I don't know, I guess you need a...
I don't know.
I mean, spell sword overall gives 90 weapon power, very decent passive there, grants you 9 energy every hero you hit, and 3 for everything else. And with Quattrevor and how Benediction works, you generally would be able to hit like a couple of enemies at least. So that way you will always have your energy up. So I guess it's a good pickup on Grace.
Doesn't Echo do that? Doesn't
exactly.
Echo give you
Exactly.
That's the problem.
That is why I'm doubting myself at this point.
It gives you a bit of cooldown. It builds out of what is it, 6 sins and chronograph, so it gives you cooldown as well. Just build clockwork. It gives you cooldown, or Shatterglass gives you more heal. Maybe they're just going. He's got his weapon blade and didn't want to sell it. So why not? Let's just have a bit of fun. Build a spell sword because there's apparently no need to buy an Atlas against Adagio and Glaive. Despite the fact that I said Atlas was the most important item for Cordovan to buy, he thought Spell Sword was more important, so what do I know?
So, yeah, like, what do you know? They are pro players after all, so they will do what they will want to do. So, overall, I guess it's a decent pickup. I will not say anything more. Or maybe he just thinks that, you know...
Defq is 1 versus 3, but he's not going to get caught out, so the fight won't quite happen yet.
Yeah, or maybe he's just thinking that his team is not putting out enough damage and he just want to add on to that damage. But overall, I personally think that Aftershock would have been a better pickup. Overall, if you wanted extra damage, you wanted extra cooldown, you wanted extra energy, you want to, the extra heal as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be the fight going in. Atlas did land on Shingy, but not quite on Spaghetti's. Lots of damage, but Glaive does manage to fall to Idris. Second Divine Intervention, 720 heal. So much onto Defq, and now Bluxty is on the back line. What is he going to do? Is he going to try and hit Tessa Boy? Or going to try and sneak around the back? No, he's just going to farm, and it looks like Impunity are going to go for the Kraken. Very good engage, easy execute onto Shingy, and Spaghetti was really unable to do much.
Yeah, and that, like we were talking about it earlier, all Impunity really had to do was just turtle up, wait, and then farm till they have got all the relevant items, the damage items, the defenses items, and just go in afterwards to put out as much damage as possible. Chingy usually will build that Poison Shift on that of Glaive. He'll go for the Tension Bow into Poison Shift and then into a Sorrow Blade. However, in this game, he is settling for that Tornado Trigger just to put out so much, a lot more burst at the start of the fight. But overall, you will be out damaged by Defq on that, what is that called? On that Idris. And on top of that as well, you are not negating any heals coming out from quarter 4.
Yeah, no Poison Shift is probably not the way to go against the Grace. Maybe he's Spell Sword and thought, nah, Grace won't do any heal. 720 isn't that much because of the extra infusion. There's going to be the engage onto Spaghetti, just a little bit of poke, and Luxity is just so far back. He's like, no, I'm not going to get caught out, but I spoke too soon. He went forward, got caught out, and Defq is trying to run away. There's a boy does hit Lithium Wall, but it does not land a stun, and now Defq is just he's going to block. Crystal Sentry is going to do a bit of work, but Quarterfours is just going to try and survive for as long as possible. The MVP is just a bit stuck. Kraken's got a turret, and what are they going to try and base rush? What?
No,
they can't do it. Look at Kraken. Kraken is going to get the turret without question, and Infamous have 3 turrets to get through. Bluxy's up in 20 seconds. Kraken's going to win the game. Maybe they want a tier 3 turret and then going to back off.
No way.
That would make sense. Don't win. They're trying it. They're trying to win. Bluxty's back up. The Kraken is currently about 6 shots away. First turret has gone down. Second turret is falling very low. Bluxty's back up. So is Defq. He's going to dive in on Shingy. Atlas Shingy. And the Vein Crystal is exposed. Kraken meanwhile. One more shot from Kraken will probably get the Vein. And it does. The Vein explodes. Game goes to Impunity. What? And it was actually much closer than I thought. But in the end, Kraken OP.
Oh wow! Oh wow! What can I say? Spellsword Brace Worlds.
That we're just stuck for words. No idea. The shot call was brave to say the least.